Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon, and welcome to another webinar hosted by the Cal State Bakersfield Small Business Development Center. I'm Kelly Bearden. I'm the host of webinar number 362. That's right. Webinar Wednesday is on its 362nd edition, going back to January of 2013. We got a great topic today. I really enjoyed this topic, and I really know it's a great opportunity for people. I hope more of us take advantage of it. We're going to learn all about mostly crowdfunding, but pretty much mostly on the Kickstarter side of things and how projects and businesses can be funded using this particular platform. We'll bring in our expert, Jim Thomsen, who has a vast experience in business and founding businesses and raising capital and running large corporations, but more about him later. Let's get on with the show. And today is, if you're watching it live, it's October 15th, 2025. And today our focus is going to be on crowdfunding. It's an incredible creative funding source, and we're going to give you the ins and outs of crowdfunding and talk all about what is going on with crowdfunding at this time. So we'll get to that in a few moments. A few other things that are going on is we have our regular column, our regular feature on Webinar Wednesday, Economic Corner, which talks about the economy and how the general economy affects small businesses. And we'll be talking, we'll be talking about a lack of official economic news, but some other news as well. We'll be talking about the federal closure and some of the things going on how it affects small businesses, particularly with the Small Business Administration. So we will look at opportunities. Is there an opportunity with the federal closure? And there might be a unique one that we'll talk about that might pertain to somebody out there. Our capital quarter remains on topic today. That pretty much means we're going to be talking about crowdfunding as part of our other regular feature on Webinar Wednesday, our capital quarter. We'll have some other news, maybe a little information. We'll have tons of resources, and we'll have Maureen in our small business Webinar Wednesday producer side of things, adding resources into today's chat. If you have questions, please go to the Q&A. We'll take questions at the conclusion of today's presentation. We'll talk also about some of the small business services, and well, we could double federal closure today. And we do have a poll. So let's jump to our poll question today, which is going to remain on topic. If you're familiar with our polls, we can bounce around a little bit. But we're going to be talking about crowdfunding and have a couple of questions kind of geared toward that, trying to get your response and a little bit of intel on what you know. And here's question number one. And it is essentially, have you ever heard or explored using Kickstarter to fund a business idea or launch a product? And it's yes, I've used Kickstarter to raise funds. I've looked into it but didn't use it. I've heard of it, viewed the site, or supported a project. And no, I'm not familiar with Kickstarter. I like that. That could be a new platform.
Right.
Let's go to Kickstarter, man. That's the platform that happens in one day, I guess. So our first question is, what do you know about Kickstarter? Have you used it to raise funds? Have you looked at it actually looked into it but didn't use it? Have you heard of it, viewed it, or supported a project? Or no, you're not familiar? Okay, we got 90% of you participating. I love that total. Thank you for your participation. We're going to end poll question number one and share the results with you. And half of you, 50%, have not heard of Kickstarter. 30% have looked into it but didn't use it. Well, today might be a motivation to jump in and to actually use it and raise funds. While 20% of you have heard of it and maybe played around on the site, and maybe even supported a project. So that's the first of our poll questions. Our second poll question is going to be, let's go with poll question number two, which is how likely would you consider crowdfunding, such as Kickstarter or one of the other ones, to help start or expand a business. So it's how likely? Is it very likely, somewhat likely, not sure, depending on the idea and a few other factors, or unlikely? So again, we have our poll question out there and we're looking for how likely would you use something like this based before you hear any of the comments. And we do have a great participation today, so we'll end the poll. And today, running in halves. So very likely half of you would consider crowdfunding. 40% of you are not sure. You're here to learn more information on it. And 10% are somewhat likely. So on with our third and final question of the day. And that one, a little bit more. If you were to launch a crowdfunding campaign, what would be your primary goal? And would it be to raise startup capital? Would it be to maybe test market for a product? Would it be to build brand awareness and community for your business? You can pre-sell products or services, which is another use of crowdfunding, or I wouldn't use crowdfunding. So, more difficult question. It really shows this question, all of the unique benefits that crowdfunding has. We come here, to raise capital, but there are a lot of others, oftentimes other benefits that people don't think about. So if you were to launch, would you do it to raise capital, test market demand for a product, build awareness, or to pre-sell products and services? That's a mouthful. But it is our final starting question, and we're going to end the poll right now and share the results with you. And 2/3, not unexpected, would use it to raise capital. 22% would be to pre-sell. You can pre-sell products or services. And 11% would to build brand awareness and community. All great, great ways Kickstarter and crowdfunding can actually assist your business. Thank you for participating, and away we go. So, we're no spring chicken to crowdfunding here at the CSU Bakersfield Small Business Development Center, and have actually been working on it since 2012. My very first workshop when I started as director of the center in 2012 was a crowdfunding workshop. So we've been working on it a long time. We would have appreciated greater traction, and we think that there's still a great opportunity, or we wouldn't be here today. So we've been working to get clients funding. One of the real benefits that really a lot of people don't understand is crowdfunding oftentimes can be used to leverage a small business loan. And by that, what I mean is that by using crowdfunding and raising capital that you don't have to pay back can actually be a down payment on a small business loan. So if you raise $10,000 in a crowdfunding campaign, well, let's say you wanted to earn another or loan or borrow another $40,000. That $10,000 is a really good down payment toward that. And that is how the bank would look at it, as capital that you're contributing, because you're really maybe paying some back in the rewards aspect of it, but not that much. So really the leveraging aspect is a great feature that we really like to let people know of early and often in crowdfunding presentations. And also the resources that are available that we can help you with. We are going to have a specialized crowdfunding individual that is going to be a part of our student intern consulting team. And we have proven talent that'll be given a presentation today. So we have the resources that can help you do that. And as part of our AIU project, and we are one of the states participating with over 150 students, one of those students is going to be working on crowdfunding through March. So there's plenty of opportunity in the next 6 months in order to get plenty of assistance and help and guidance in putting this particular crowdfunding venture together. Now, when we jump into Capital Quarter, and there's our poster child for Capital Quarter, the wonderful $100,000 bill. We'll get to him in just a minute. But first, jumping with Economic Corner and our other feature. And our Economic Corner format is, the federal government is shut down, but is not going to affect SBDC services. The U.S. Small Business Administration is closed and their services are paused at this moment. Now, I did mention earlier, maybe there's an opportunity for you to do something, and maybe it's to fix any SBA issues that you have. And one of the issues that we see or hear about from SBA is that individuals that have a economic injury disaster loan from the COVID era, from 5 years ago, the EIDL loan it was called, a lot of people are behind on those, and they're such great terms, 3.75% for 30 years. And those that fall behind will have those loans called and need to be taken care of. So maybe this is an opportunity to look into, if you have an EIDL loan or other SBA payment, on ways of trying to work with an individual on trying to get those repaired. Also in Economic Corner, we've been seeing a lot of unofficial, there's a shortage of official federal data, obviously, because, well, the government's closed. But there's a lot of other data. And so we're going to go through just a little of that data before we get moving on with our program. One of the things that are interesting is that this has kind of been, was in the Wall Street Journal and actually was the probability of a recession. And I see here, it seems like every day or every other day, someone talking about the probability of a recession. We talked about it a little bit earlier this year, but this is kind of a timeline that shows the probability of a recession in the next 12 months. Whereas, I think we're at this second to last bubble right now, this one right there. So a little over, maybe a third of a chance, but that's where we are right now and where we have been over the last 4, almost 5 years. So with that, as of today, the big banks, it's great if you're a big bank, apparently. They're less affected, obviously, by less than us small business people. But big banks are strong, and as of today, the biggest banks have earned $41 billion in the last 3 months, up from 19% from a year ago. So they're seeing strong consumer spending, which is important to warding off a potential recession, and stable deposits. And those are the kind of things that are the kind of paint a picture for a consistently strong consumer. And that quote is from the Wells Fargo chief executive, Charlie Scharf. So at least from the ones that really kind of get impacted first, it's oftentimes the lenders out there, they're not seeing it at this particular point. Some of the events coming up, and that's a good rolling into our 6th annual Small Business Finance event, of where there could be talk about potential for a recession. It's happened before that event. But there'll be a lot of funding aspects, and this will be live on campus of CSU Bakersfield, and that'll be November 5th from 5 to 8 p.m. in the multi-purpose room. If you want more information about it, you can contact us, and we will get you more information. We're participating in this event. It's free of charge. There'll be a lot of great lenders there, a lot of potential resources and other things that can help you with your particular business. One thing that's really helped us out in our particular Small Business Development Center business has been the Small Business Credit Report from the Federal Reserve Bank. And thanks to many of you out there who participated in the survey, the Small Business Credit Survey, it takes about 12 minutes. There's a lot of questions, but it asks you about your business and really then is formulated with 10 to 20,000 other responses around the country. And then they come out with this annual report talking about some of the strengths and weaknesses out there, and it's a great tool that we use. For one of those is they ask you some demographic information, and just by mentioning your gender, let us be known that over twice of our respondents, of which we had 98 to this particular question, more than twice were women-owned businesses, and something we're kind of proud of and have mentioned in the past. So that's the kind of demographic data we get, but we get, far more sensitive data that is really helpful and really beneficial to us So please go to the link in today's resources, today's chat box, and participate in that particular survey. Some of the community events going on in the community calendar. There is the Tehachapi Mountain Wine Grape Growers Association, and they have their AVA Harvest Festival coming up on Saturday, October 25th. Great time is had at all. Value-added agriculture at its best here in Kern County. The October is the manufacturing month as designated by the U.S. Commercial Service. They don't have a lot of programs going on since they are part of the Department of Commerce of the U.S. government, but manufacturing month, and we have some exciting announcements coming up for those interested in manufacturing. The free human resource hotline is a great first step if you have an HR issue or question. Call one of these phone numbers and find out how they can be of assistance to you with your particular HR issue. At the SBDC, we have a lot of tools, and we have a lot of tools. One of them is that these webinars, all pretty much, not all, but nearly every single one of them, go rest and go live on our YouTube channel afterwards. Our YouTube channel is now up to 488 subscribers. The link is there. Hey, we're going to have a contest for our 500th subscriber. So if you are our 500th subscriber, send us some type of documentation that you just subscribed and maybe like I have here when I was at 482 subscribers. And we're going to give a wonderful gift. The SBDC is providing a wonderful gift to the 500th subscriber. Now, I have no way of knowing who the 500th subscriber is, so I'm trusting, um, the wonderful trust. And if we have more than 500 subscribers, hey, we'll have a raffle legally. If you like today's webinar, please go to Google and leave a review. If you don't, let me know, and I'll be glad to hear that information. There's our great sponsors again. We could not be here without them. Thank you all so much for that participation. We're moving into the crowdfunding aspect now. So just real briefly before I introduce our guest speaker, the crowdfunding models, there are quite a few. I left off, fund me on this, which is more of a personal site. But for the business model sites, what we see there's debt sites where there's actually crowds that come together and put up money to where you can borrow. There's a nonprofit segment, and it is growing, where nonprofits can actually participate with nonprofit sites, and nonprofit crowdfunding is growing. There's equity or investment crowdfunding, where if you have and are willing to take on particular partners and to look at giving up some of your equity, some of your ownership of that particular business. Something that hasn't taken off as much as we had liked, but I know our speaker's got a few resources on that we'll get to maybe at the end. But really today, he's going to be talking a lot about the rewards, or where you actually offer some rewards and you have individuals that will make pledge of funds at a given different reward or pre-purchase of a product for that particular campaign. So basically, that's just the models we're going to be talking about. You can contact us and we will work with you on crowdfunding topics. So if you have a crowdfunding campaign and want some assistance, hey, you can meet with our presenter today. How often do you get that? Go through a webinar and meet with the actual presenter. You can sign up at our website for confidential, no cost, no obligation, free, no cost, expert consulting, and meet with one of our SBDC consultants. We'll be back next week with webinar Wednesday number 363. Our special guest will be Scott Rogalski, who's the director of the NorCal Finance Center. And that's next week. And there's our wonderful crowdfunding models. Just one last look at those before we bring in our special guest. 4 different models. And our special guest today is Jim Thomsen. And this is a flyer that I just recycled and reused, as Jim was fantastic enough to come down from his home in Mono County and visit us at CSU Bakersfield. You'll see they threw a couple of different activities at him. the CSUB Lunch and Learn, to where we discussed obviously a lot of the same crowdfunding topics we're talking about today. He actually presented from 4 to 6 or 5 to 6 at our Entrepreneurship Club from 5 to 6 that day. And what we didn't tell him was we had two other activities in between that we snuck him into. One of those was our faculty and staff regular meeting, our college meeting, and where he addressed our faculty and staff. And the other was our Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation cohort, where Jim and I heard 10 different pitches that day. And he commented, and we both commented on a lot of the pitches going on in that thing. So really, he had a full day. But really, my introduction of Jim goes back to 1971 when he co-founded the Wilderness Experience with his brother. Ended up being the first recreation outdoor business to go public. And that has a relevance, as you're going to find out when we show you his original campaign that he first did. After that, Jim, they sold the business, obviously, when it went public, and actually then both became corporate executives working with large corporations that you've all heard of and know. I'll let Jim maybe talk a little bit about some of that work, as I don't want to steal all of his thunder, but he's been doing great work for the SBDC in Inyo and Mono counties. And it's a pleasure to have him on our SBDC advising team with his experience and expertise. So it's great to welcome in today Jim Thomsen. So, Jim, come on in here with me and take it away.
Well, good morning. Well, I'm Jim. As Kelly said, I've spent my entire career mostly in the outdoor industry in a lot of entrepreneurship programs. I've started both the company that he mentioned, Wilderness Experience, that we started with no money in 1971. And by the time we took it public, we had 350 employees in the United States. And it went on to continue for years until it went through a bunch of different owners and sort of disappeared. Then I opened two additional retail stores and started enjoying life a little bit, but got an offer from a big company to take over one of their divisions, which was at the time was JanSport. I got involved with them. They were a large company that did apparel and didn't really want to be in the outdoor business because JanSport was, didn't fit with Wrangler and Lee and all the other companies. So they talked about selling it. And I kept presenting to the CEO and everybody that we shouldn't do that. We should go out and buy outdoor companies because it was the future. This was in 1995. And finally, they agreed with me. The first one that I wanted to purchase was the North Face. And then we went through a series of other ones. Before the North Face one closed, we bought Eastpak, which was about a 200 and some $1 million business in Europe. And I went over there to help set that up and get it working. While we were there, the North Face one closed, and I was my job. My goal was always to be president of North Face. But being in Europe and working there was so much fun that we ended up turning down the North Face job and staying in Europe, and then buying a few other additional companies. So I've run everything from two-person businesses up to a couple of thousand employees, and love it. But my main excitement part is entrepreneurship and starting things. And crowdfunding is just a great way that you can raise money that is not as common. And as Kelly said, we've done a series of these talks and different events, and every so often somebody does it. I don't know why it's not used even more, and so that's why I'm back here again today. So crowdfunding, and this is the one where you're talking about a product, and I'm going to mainly focus on Kickstarter. There's two or three other ones. Kickstarter is was the original, and it's still the largest, and it's the one that I've worked with the most, so it'll be focused on that. But there are other ones, and there are advantages to some over the other. But to do a Kickstarter program, it has to be a product. It can't be, I want money to go to school, or I want money because of medical issues. Now, this is you have to have a product. It could be a book, it could be a game. Board games are a really big part of Kickstarter, or it could be an actual physical product, something that you need the money to make. And so that's where people will back you. And usually you have a choice where people could just back you for no reason, just to give you 10 or $20. But usually it's a product that you want to sell. If they back you for that month, I mean, for that product, then you'll use that money and go out and actually produce that product, and then they get it. Some Kickstarters fail. Actually, quite a few fail, but most don't. So if you set, so I'm going to go on and stay on Kickstarter, but if you have to set a funding goal, and that's one of the restrictions that Kickstarter has that I think is a benefit, but is different than some of the others, is that if you say I want to raise $20,000 uh, for this new product, if you raise 15,000, you get zero. You only get the money if you go over the amount that you set as your funding goal. So you need to make sure that you've picked a goal that's realistic, and importantly, not just to hit it, to make sure that if you're offering a product, that you'll actually be able to produce it and ship it and do all those things with that money. Because what you don't want to do is collect $20,000 and then find out it's going to cost you $30,000 to do it. Uh, Kickstarter keeps all their past campaigns online. So you can go back and look at a product similar to what you're doing and see what they've done. You can see the ones that have failed and the ones that have succeeded and learn a lot that way. A big issue, and this is where I've seen a great quote about something, that crowdfunding is really more focused on the crowd than the funding. You have to have the crowd or you're not going to succeed at the funding part. And so you start with friends and family, work out mailing lists, get public relations, everything you can do to make sure that you can have a good immediate jump in your funding. Because you set a date, and we go to the next one on that. You set a date for how long you're going to let it run. Let's say you can do it for a month, and I think the maximum is 3 months. If you do it too long, people just put off doing it. If you do it too short, you may not hit enough people in that length of time. But it's important to have early success rate, because usually if people can't raise 30 to 40% in the first couple days, people look at it and aren't as excited about your project as they should be. So you want to make sure you have, obviously friends and family, and as much as you can do on a great mailing list. And that usually means, to build that mailing list, is using, both Facebook and Meta ads, Instagram, everything you can think of to get people on a mailing list excited about your product and what you're trying to do in advance. And then also press releases. Again, I'm more familiar with the outdoor products, but all the outdoor magazines, especially now with even more online sites and more online influencers, uh, that you can get a lot of press on Facebook just by making sure that you're sending things to them and getting them excited about what you're doing. There's also a lot of ways to learn about Kickstarter. This is something, the first one I did, which was about 5 years ago. There were no real groups talking about it. There was a little bit of question and answer, but now there's full Kickstarter groups, there's Facebook groups. I haven't looked at the LinkedIn groups, but I know that there's a question, and Reddit has quite a few also. So it's something that you can really talk to other people who are doing it, which helps a lot. One of the things that's most important in your presentation for Kickstarter is a video talking about what you want to do. And this, as you can see on number 10 here, it says high quality, especially audio, but non-professional is okay. And one of the ones that I'm going to talk about that just finished, a person that I know just completed his Kickstarter program. He did the whole thing himself, just filming it on his phone, and had never done a video before, and was just basically honest and excited about it. And his uh, program Kickstarter campaign was successful. So you need a video, but it really doesn't have to be professional. In fact, some of the numbers I've seen showing some of the non-professional ones are actually better, because people then trust you, because they've seen enough really slick ads and videos from big companies that they just don't trust those. But if you can do one that shows that you're an actual real person that cares about what they're doing, it can have even a bigger impact than a very high quality one. Oh, I could do that. Then you on Kickstarter, and they have lots of information about how to set it up. So it's not too complicated, but it is a bunch of work. So your first page is a campaign page that explains what you're trying to do. and make it, very clear what it is and why it's a good idea. And um, right now, the most recent number I saw was about 60% to 70% are looking at it on a mobile, on a phone, rather than on a laptop, I mean, on a desktop computer. So you want to make sure that your campaign page works perfect on a phone and on desktops. Phones apparently get uh, faster response from people just to do it. If they're looking at their phone, they think it's cool. It's easy for them to hit a, 20 or 50 or $100 button rather than waiting to their home. You want to make sure that you're answering everybody's questions and having a frequently asked questions section is really good because especially depending on your product, if it's something that's kind of confusing, especially if it's something that's brand new that hasn't been made before, you want to make sure you're covering why it's a good idea, but you also want to include why you can succeed at it. Because it'd be easy to say, I'm going to make a new sleeping bag that'll sell for $50 and it'll be the warmest thing in the world and all that. And maybe that's true, but nobody's going to believe it. So if you're going to do something that's going to be out there and really pushing something new, you better take the time to explain why you think it's a really good product and why you can succeed. And if they give their money, that you will succeed. One of the problems for in sponsors or backers on Kickstarter is, let's say you had your goal at $20,000 and everybody put in money and you raised $22,000 and you get that money. If you don't succeed at making your product, all those people who gave you that money just lose. Basically, there's nothing they can do about it. So I've invested in a lot of small little Kickstarter programs, and probably about a third of the ones I've sponsored have not ever succeeded because a lot of it is you get to the point where you actually have to produce the product, manufacture it, ship it, and that's a ton of work and super complicated to make sure you figure out all those things. So a lot of fail. So you need to convince people that you're not one of those that are going to fail. Uh, one of the things that you do as it's going along is to keep people updated, especially if you have problems. It's not uncommon to have problems and to just keep putting out information to everybody. Don't let them just see their money sit there and nothing ever happens. Come out and say, hey, look, we made a mistake. We can't get this made in, Vietnam anymore. We have to move it to somewhere else, but we're still working on it. And in some ways, you can get people excited about staying with you just because you're being honest about the issues. Uh, Facebook and Instagram ads still continue to be probably the best way to reach people. Facebook ads, obviously you could see how much money Meta is making off Facebook ads. They're successful and they can charge a lot for them because they actually do work. And it's probably the easiest way because you can test ads. You could just invest $20, try something, see if it works. And if it doesn't work, try something else. Their new system allows you to use their AI to actually write ads for you, and you could test those and see. And the good ones, then you put in a little more money to advertise those. But your goal is to build up this mailing list of people who are going to want to be your backers. And so that when you do finally launch it and you have 30 days to do it, all those backers who have been following you, maybe for a couple months while you're putting this together, will know about it right away and be able to jump on and be one of those people in that first few days. When you pick a product, you need to have different rewards. Now, it could be just your reward is that product or a better price or for a little bit more money getting two of the same product. I just did that with a waterproof travel pack that I wanted. And for a little bit more, I was able to get two. So one was a gift and it was great. So, but you need rewards. You can also, if your product is kind of expensive, and the one that I'll show you, the program that I did, the product was over $100. And so that was a big step. But we made other products cheaper. We made, a $30 product and a $20 product and a t-shirt, things like that. So somebody could still be excited about your project, but have a reward level that's lower. And then even higher ones, you get the product, plus you get, the briefcase and the pouch and the t-shirt and all these things for even more money. And that way people can choose, and you want to have it start low enough that people will just look at it. And most of them I've seen always have $5 just because I think it's a cool idea. And sometimes you get a mention on their website. all the way up to, some of the ones, one I just finished that a friend of mine did. His top one was $9,000, which included a hiking trip anywhere in the world, and nobody bid on that one. But it was a fun idea. Also, early bird specials, and that was one that was very successful in the project I did, is that the price was lower for the first, I think it was first, third, I can't remember what it was, but the first group to back the project got a lot lower price for the same items if they did it in that short period at the beginning. Partly to get people excited about it, and also to show a lot of backers happening very early in your project so that other people can look at it and go, wow, a lot of people already think this is great. I think I'm going to keep uh, jump on that one too. Uh, Number 18 here is one I mentioned that you will have problems, and and you should admit those quickly and explain. And if things are going well, you should explain. Uh, One of the big advantages of a Kickstarter program or any of the crowdfunding programs is you get money to do a project that you want to do. So that's great. But it's also a great marketing project that doesn't cost you hardly anything. Because if you get a couple of thousand people looking at your Kickstarter program and you get them on your mailing list and you tell them what's coming, those are people that are going to believe in your brand and really look at it. One, there's a company called Expedition Units that I backed very early on a little waterproof shoulder bag. And they're now, I think, on their fourth or fifth Kickstarter program. The last one was $350,000 they raised. And they're using that as their marketing and raising money for every new product that they add. And it seems to really work well. Normally people do Kickstarters as a one time and it either works or it doesn't. But doing it as an ongoing marketing and planning program, can be very, very efficient that way. As actually pretty much every company, but definitely if you're on Kickstarter, you need to have a website. Um, they say Kickstarter usually says after you get going, you should have it. I actually think because websites are so easy to produce today, they don't have to be super professional. You can do it all yourself. And that way you can have a website at the beginning and use that as your collection of names. If you use something like Squarespace, which is pretty simple to use, they have the mailing list already tied in. They have blogs. They have all the stuff already tied in their system. So it's an easy thing to start and to make your company be more credible right away beyond just the Kickstarter page. Newsletters are a lot of work, but they're also a great thing. If they only have what's happening with yours, that's already good. But usually the good ones will throw in other things that relate to it. If you're talking about some water sports thing, they'll put in some news about water sports or something, just so it's a little more interesting to read. But basically, you're trying to build relationships with all the people on your mailing list, ideally, and definitely all the people who could be backers. Kickstarter does surveys. They have a lot of data on what things people like and dislike about different projects. And it's a really good site just to go look at Kickstarter, look at some of the ones, and you can learn a lot. The last one, the most important on here, is kind of what I was talking about on the video. People are backing you because they think you're real. They think you're a real person. They think you're authentic. Ideally, they like you. And if they like you and you have a pretty good idea, it's a really good chance that you will succeed at getting whatever your funding goal was.
Great. Well, let's jump in and look at some actual platforms themselves. Look at some actual campaigns. Jim, one thing I really like to mention is that raising any type of capital is hard work. I don't care what type of capital you're raising, it's going to be hard work. Crowdfunding is hard work. You have to come out with a well thought out plan. You should do some rewards cost analysis. You should, you have to either meet your goal or you don't get funded. You should plan for stretch goals. And some of these you could reiterate with some of these campaigns, but also introducing new rewards as you go are all important topics and all important things that kind of happened with that. So let's jump into some of these. I'm going to talk just a little briefly about this one. This was one that was done on campus. I know more about it than you do. It was done in 2012, just before I got to CSUB, or I would have been a backer. Um, so a little bit about it. It was done by the Humanities Department at Cal State Bakersfield. And what they did was they brought a visiting sculptor from the Ivory Coast to do a sculpture of Martin Luther King Jr. for the campus. It is now on that campus. But they kind of shows you kind of some of the things, whereas this is an arts project and you see a lot of arts projects. But it's important to note that you can do a business project and a business itself on here. So here was kind of their updates as far as this is their updates page. So you see across the top of Kickstarter, there's the campaign, there's the video you can actually go in and play. This raised over $4,000 of a $3,900 goal. The only thing I would have done different on this campaign was it reached its goal really early of 3,900 and didn't have a stretch goal. Whereas you could have added more features that you would have spent and more value added to the particular project if more people, and if you continued the goal for another 20 days. I think they reached it 10 days in. So the stretch goal aspect I thought was really important. There's a list of the donors and their goals. I won't get into these too much. I'll let Jim get into these on many of his projects that he's worked on. But it's just kind of something that we've done on campus and hope to revisit again soon. So starting with Jim's projects, and we're going to go over three of them today, or he's going to. And I'm going to introduce the first one, which was the Klettersack project, a project that I met Jim over in 2019 here in Mammoth Lakes. So Jim, take it away. I think it's coming. Come on, internet.
Okay. As I mentioned, the company I started in 1971, we took public in 1980, and then both my brother and I went on to do other things. And the company was bought by another bigger company, and I went through, I think it was either 11 or 12 different owners, till finally by 2010, they weren't even manufacturing the products anymore. The company, one of the companies at the bottom had closed down. So the company just sort of disappeared. And we had a party at my brother's place for ex-employees, and we had 60 people come to us. And this is like 30 years after after we had left the company. And, all the good and fun stories. And then we said, it's really a shame that, at the time, this was in the top three largest outdoor companies in the United States. And now nobody even knows the name anymore. And this one pack was our biggest selling pack. Actually, it was the largest selling of any pack in the United States in the early 80s. It was called the Klettersack, and we were selling over 100,000 of those a year. So it was every single top climber anywhere in magazines and everything, everybody used it, and then never happened. So at the party, we were talking about it, and I went home and thought, I'm going to check. And I went and found out the corporation that had got out of business also had never re-upped the trademark. So I just refiled for the trademark. And then I decided it'd be fun to make the exact same pack. But I was also interested in crowdfunding, and I'd been talking about it, but I'd never done it. So I thought a fun way is if I could actually just do the crowdfunding myself and learn all the parts. And so picked this pack, did it all with the exact materials that were used in 1973 when we made this pack, and had to source first off somebody to make it, also the metal buckles, which are impossible to find anymore today, and all those things. And then put it out, doing all the things I talked about. I got outdoor magazines to cover it in their editorials. I got mailing lists to do it. And then you can see as we're scrolling through here the different rewards that I gave for it. And it was, from the lowest one of just $5, you get nothing, to $10, you get a sticker, all the way up to, t-shirt. So what I was trying to do is have different price points that any amount that somebody wanted to give, there was something they could get for that. And there's my early bird example of the pack for $75, and then goes up to 87 after the early bird number is sold. And I set it not as a date, but just some quantity. Um, and we went through all the different layers, and people could buy, the whole sets for, they get a couple of packs and t-shirts and other items. We also did, which I didn't know if anybody even cared, but we did limited edition that my brother and I signed every one, numbered edition. So we really thought through the rewards a lot. and it worked. And my goal, I think, I don't even remember now. I think our goal was 30,000 or something, but we raised 37,000. Oh, 20,000. Oh, wow. We did better than I thought. Uh, but also something that this doesn't show is at the time it was a new little company that started a separate program you could add. And it was when people, once the project is funded and it's going to happen, then those people have to give in their addresses where they want things shipped and other information like that. But this company had a separate program. When people went in to put in their address, it said, "Hey, cool, you're going to do it, but don't you want to add a T-shirt to your order or other things?" And I don't remember the number anymore. Maybe Kelly does, but I think we raised another 10,000 or more than that on that second round as when people were putting in their names. So it turned out to be very, very successful from a project for mine. I made 1,000 of the packs, almost all. I think we sold 800 over the Kickstarter program, and the rest were sold over from the website after that. So it was a fun project. Again, a lot of work because I didn't know how to do any of this. I'd run companies, but when we needed UPC codes, I would just ask that department to take care of it for me. And this time I actually had to find out how you get a UPC code, how you print it, how you do all these things. So it was a learning process. It was really fun, but it was a lot of work. But if I was trying to start a brand new company today, I could have started a company on this one Kickstarter event and really with no money involved in doing it. The other one is organization that I've become very involved in, the Yosemite Climbing Association. And it's a group that has been collecting products, historical climbing things. We actually have the first bolts that were put in Half Dome in 1875 when the first person made it to the top of Half Dome. And I just made a video of that over this last week of having somebody show how they made those things. But we wanted to open a physical museum, and that was expensive, so it needed money for both to have somebody working in there and to show it. And so did the same sort of thing with a Kickstarter program, a goal of 25,000, I think, or 21,000, and we raised 36,000. And it also gave us a lot of people that knew about the fact we were opening this museum. If you're in Mariposa, California, and you care about climbing, definitely go by and get the tour. But one of the things we have are lots of famous pictures that have been taken since the 50s of climbing and more recent. And so a lot of our rewards were photos, and they were all printed super high quality printing, sometimes frames, sometimes different posters, whatever, we could have at different levels. And so people would get a picture or a poster or something. And we could have done a lot more now thinking back. There's things that we should have done. Same thing as Kelly mentioned on the other one, is doing those stretch goals. We could have said that, for another $10,000, we're planning on adding another room that will have all the history of climbing in Tuolumne Meadows of Yosemite National Park, things like that. We didn't do that. We did it a one-time thing, but it did work. It did allow us to open the museum, and in this last year, we've expanded the museum again. So I think it was a really good project, and one that now that I'm involved deeper in the company, I'm thinking, or the organization, thinking about trying to do another one for an expansion of that. The third one on here that I just want to hit on is this is a person, the Yosemite Climbing Association runs a cleanup event in Yosemite National Park. It's called Facelift, and we just finished a couple of weeks ago. And this year we had 1,600 volunteers come. It's a really big event where people come for 5 days and pick up trash. And last year, one of the guys there was an engineer who had worked out this idea of how to make a trash picker upper on the end of a hiking pole. And it's much more efficient. If you've ever used any of the other trash picker uppers, they're not easy, but you can see half a teeny little cigarette butt and pick it up. It's so simple. And it was a neat little thing he showed me at the event last year. And he was hoping to find some company that would help make it. But again, like anytime I have a chance, I start pushing crowdfunding. And he actually listened to me and he decided to try it. And so he did all this himself. He had no background in ever doing websites before or any of the other parts or making a video. He went, on YouTube and just learned things. and started the thing of the Kickstarter program. He decided to only do it as a 1 month program, which I thought is pretty short for that. I probably would have done it longer. But he raised 30, do you have that number, what it is now, 37,000 or so?
36.
Yeah. And so that's a lot. He really debated about whether he could make it, because it's a manufactured product. The smaller number you make, the more expensive it is. So if he only wanted to sell 100, it would be very expensive to make. If he had gone for 1,000, it'd be cheaper. He decided on 300, that was enough money to get it going. And now he, wishes he would have done a stretch goal on that. But I think what he will do is either hope that the sales on the website works well, because he did build up a big mailing list from this, or he may do another Kickstarter program for an uh, advanced item. So it shows you that, he told me he has the cheapest iPhone you could possibly buy, and that's what he made the video from. And he, did signed up for Squarespace and used YouTube to learn how to put a website together. And you look at it, it's not as maybe as slick as some of the big companies, but this is one guy in his spare time, he still has his job, put this together, and now he's got a business that he's looking at what to do now in the future and how to what he wants to do with it next. And the video, what he made, he's passionate about picking up trash. So that's what made the video, I think, so powerful, and that he had a good solution for it. So it's one that just happened, and it's a very interesting one. Plus, I also have all his notes of the things he did on the most recent, 'cause it's only a couple of weeks old. Uh, so it's you know, something I'll be using his comments a lot when I talk to people about crowdfunding, because it's everything that I said you should be able to do it. Actually, he proved that he was able to do it. And I hope a lot of people, if you want to try something like this, it's work, but it could sure be fun.
Okay, great stuff. Great projects. And even services, we gave examples of mostly products, but if you even have a service that you can pre-sell, or you don't even have to have a product to pre-sell, you can do the thank you. There's so many different rewards that you can do and give, because people want to be part of your success. They want to be part of a project that is working or can actually do improvement no matter what it is. Improvement is what they're looking for. Okay, we're running out of time. Let's hit any questions. Please hit the Q&A box. We're going to go through the chat box while you give you time to come up with any questions for Jim. And in here, we will have probably a few questions as well. So we have greetings and salutations. And also some resources. There is the survey link for the Federal Reserve Bank Business Credit Survey. We appreciate all those of you that will actually participate in that and get us our own subset of data. The Tehachapi Mountain AVA Harvest Festival is coming up on the 25th. It'll be for all the wineries in the Tehachapi Mountain AVA, the American Viticultural Association or area. So look at that as a potential fun day out. Also some resources on to grow your business and Kickstarter, information on Kickstarter, the link. We have a question. How can we apply this to a company that provides a service rather than a product? Okay.
Well, I guess it kind of depends on what the service is. But if it's a service that you can have people prepay for, that would be in a perfect way. I did see one on a home cleaning service where you actually one of the rewards was 10 months of cleaning, and so it really depends on what you're trying to do. But it has to be something that you could actually give somebody for. And Kickstarter, it's pretty hard to just say, I want you to help me start this business. But if you get something for it, it really works. And I know that that one was successful in the cleaning service, and they raised enough to be able to buy the original truck they needed and cleaning supplies and everything else. And now they've expanded beyond that and never done another Kickstarter program. But I think you have to just be creative on looking at the service.
Yeah, and we see a lot of food service businesses that do that, but ultimately there's a product involved there. But we see also, I see like an opportunity. Let's use a service that really doesn't have a product. How about a pool service? Jim and I are featured
Yeah.
behind this huge pool here called Tenaya Lake. It doesn't need any servicing, but But if you have a swimming pool, potentially these products or these services will actually come out of your particular network. It'll come out of your friends and family, and it kind of rolls out of that. And so people that want to be part of your success as a service, I think is what they look for in that area as well. So anyway, you could prepay a service, a new business to friends, to friends, to acquaintances, to others outside of those circles. That is the beauty of Kickstarter. Okay, so moving along, we have some other resources in here. There's the referenced Klettersack. Jim, mentioned also there was a briefcase. I might have showed it. Yeah, somebody possesses one of those. Jim possesses a lot of those. I possess one. It's really nice. So good job on that, Jim. And so also the CleanTrek is in there. So there's also the Google reviews. Credit repair services is what my question was about.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's the great thing about a Kickstarter campaign. It doesn't really go into um, your credit repair, although there is somebody who we can probably put you in line with to help you with that and to improve your credit. But the great thing is about Kickstarter and also crowdfunding, no credit checks required. And the one thing is, if you are applying for, say, one of the easier loan packages to get, if your credit isn't that great, and it must not be because you're looking to get it moved up, oftentimes having some money that is a larger down payment that can come from a Kickstarter campaign can leverage more small business capital money, particularly if you have some areas to where you're less deficient. And of course, that was not the intent of the question. It was you're looking to start a credit repair service, and that was the service that you're looking to repair. Well, what is your competition doing is what I would look at. Is I would look at what other people charge and what are the services that you can provide and just show the benefits that are out there. And then getting it out there to some of the finance, there's tons of financial resources and there's tons of people that need assistance in actually getting that particular service and getting that work done. So that's my 2 cents on
Yeah.
what would be that
Well,
particular
one thing
service.
that I think where Kickstarter could really work on something like that is uh, credit services. I see the ads that everybody sees all the time. And, my first response a lot of times is, I don't know if this is real. I don't know if, is this somebody I would even want to be involved with? With Kickstarter, if you do a good video showing that you're actually really real people who really care about doing things and talk about some of the successes and things that make somebody trust you, it may be a really good way to build that service.
Yeah, and we are getting a lot of questions about services. So, I think that you're limited only by your lack of creativity. Any way creativity you can think of new changes in older industries, such as financial resources or professional services or other types of service type businesses, but just I think crowdfunding gives you an opportunity to, and I hate the phrase, think outside the box. So it gives you kind of that other layer of what can you offer, and you can talk about your own domestic situation. Maybe you've had some challenges in your life and you have become an accountant. Maybe you got an accountant degree at CSUB. Congratulations. Or something along those lines. But there's a story, and people connect to the story and they connect to that video and other things to where I think services is underutilized as far as using these types of programs.
I think it'd be fun to look at some of the possibilities and throw on ideas for the specific service.
Yes, definitely.
Contact Kelly, sign up with the SBDC.
Talk to Jim. Jim, he's not expensive, at least if you go through the Small Business Development Center. I can't guarantee you if you don't go through the Small Business Development Center, but through the Small Development Center, you can sit and go through Kickstarter and look at all the services that you want during that first initial hour with him, and look at some of the things that other people are doing. That's the great thing about it. These programs and these what previously people have done, you can go do a search and see what other people have done, and maybe not do exactly what they've done, but get some creative ideas and how you can actually improve upon it. Services can be improved upon just like products. Okay, well, not seeing any further questions. Uh, I think that's a wrap, and I think we're out of time, Jim.
Oh, perfect. Well, I enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.
This guy's great, man. Literally I like to do this like when he's on camera so I can embarrass him, but literally the most fascinating individual I've met the last dozen years I've been in this job. And you can meet with him for free or any of our other advisors on any other problems. We'll be back for webinar Wednesday number. Oh, one last thing. Before I give my sterling recap, is you've seen Tenaya Lake, which is a place that Jim and I both are very fond of in the background. Well, that's my picture from my iPhone. Jim has got, his picture from his iPhone also. And there's mine. That's not Jim's, that's Jim's. Same place. Just goes to show how something can be improved on a service such as photography, even. Okay, so that's a wrap. We're out of here. We'll see you next week, everybody. Everybody have a great week. Come back for webinar Wednesday 363. Scott Rogowski will be joining us, and we'll talk about a lot of other financing opportunities and funding sources for small businesses. So for Jim Thomsen right here, I'm Kelly Bearden. Everybody have a great week. Goodbye, everybody.